Tad, what makes a character? What would you say is our character here?
I would say that we are Noyz
Boyz.
That is our characterization. All right, good episode. Let's wrap this baby up.
All right. So, me and Ted have been talking a lot about bullshit that literally no one's going to care about except for us. So,
and our beautiful, beautiful fans. Is that a new haircut? Wow, you look really well. Nice. Good job.
Have you heard of our Patreon by any chance? Okay. So, I was
damn, those glasses are straight up bussin'. I'm doing the fuckboy thing where he's got like the hand on his chin and he's biting his lip.
Pause the episode. What the fuck does bussin' mean? Because I heard it in a fucking Cold Ones episode my friends forced me to watch. Because that's the only way I watch content with my friends, you know. What does bussin' mean?
Oh man, what doesn't bussin' mean? Holy shit. Bussin' just means there's like a video of a guy. I think I might be getting my TikToks mixed up. I don't use TikTok. I am not a child, and I'm not a child groomer, despite being a Discord admin. So I mean, I think there's like a video of a guy who's like, he's like pouring syrup on a waffle. He's like, "Yo, that shit is bussin'. Sheesh, on God, respectfully." And he like eats it, and then he turns the camera around. And he's covered in maple syrup.
Okay.
It's the same level of like intense thought that Dan Daniel back at it again with the sneakers. It's just that. It's just funny words.
Because there was this fucking show, it's called Cold Ones, my friends forced me to watch, and they were just having this one night where they got drunk and just kept quoting everything as being busted or not, and I didn't know what it fucking meant, and I was confused.
God, speaking of Cold Ones, I'll get my intro here, Alex. It's great. Watch this. Speaking of Cold Ones, so I went to work today, and then I found out, went to work for the 18th day in a row, and without any breaks. It's great. I love it. I love being alive. And I didn't have to work today. So I was like, oh, sheesh, this be bussin'. And I went and I got some Cold Ones myself. And I got home, and I took them out, and then I realized I don't have a fucking bottle opener in this house. And that has been a constant issue for the past, 3 fucking weeks when I've been moved to my new place. I will go and do something and realize I don't have any tools or anything for this. I moved in here, Alex. I didn't have fucking curtains for 2 weeks.
I haven't had curtains in this house for 2 years. You've been here.
You have something that makes it so people can't look inside your front window and see a fucking jerk in your merkin, though.
No, but
you've got blinds.
They can look at us in the living room. Remember, there's no blinds there. Sherry got rid of them.
There's horses, though.
It's just, what are the horses gonna do? Look at you?
That's all they do. Among other things that I don't want to talk about again, because horses are fucking gross animals. But I've been fixing up this house that I moved into. It's an apartment, and it is a fucking process. So, okay. My shower is it's all right. But you know how most showers have like a vent in the ceiling, right? Like in the roof, and you have your bad stinky poo-poo smells, and then like your good clean shower smells go up through there and then out to the atmosphere or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This one doesn't have that. You know what it does have? It has a fucking window. And the window is right like on the wall. So when I take a shower, it just fills up because it's got a fucking shelf too. So the shelf just fills up with water and then it spills out the window. And I'm like, this is altogether obnoxious. This is a problem.
Who designed this place?
What I had to do to fix it is I had one shower curtain when I moved in. They graciously gave me a shower curtain that was filthy and a rod that did not fit. So it had to be sideways. I don't know if you've ever touched a curtain rod or ever had to put one up.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. They're just fucking awful. Whoever designed shower curtains, Jesus Christ, come on. This is obnoxious. And I have to hang this secondary curtain up and just to have like a curtain that blocks the window so it doesn't fill up with water, because this place is not fucking watertight. That shit's going downstairs. That's gonna rot my wood. I'm gonna fall through the ceiling. It's just not gonna work. So I have, so I had to get another curtain rod, right, for the front, so that no one looking in through the front window that doesn't have any curtains could see my dick. Right?
Yeah.
So I get it. I go to like fucking Home Depot and I get one, right? I get one of these big fucking long ones, but it won't stay up. So I'm like, okay, I know what to do here. So I go over to my bag of tools and I look for a hammer and nails. I don't have a hammer. I don't have nails. So I drive down the street and I go buy some hammer. I buy some nails. I get back. The nails, none of them are like wide. They're all like rail thin nails because I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know any. I'm a fucking podcaster. You think I ever do anything with my hands? So, okay. What do you think my solution was to this curtain rod that wouldn't fit? And I have a hammer and I have some nails.
You instead of using the hammer and nails, you go to Home Depot and pick up a screwdriver and try to screw it in instead.
That would have made more sense than what I tried to do. So what I did is I was like, okay, I got my new shower curtain. How can I hang this here? And so I'm looking, I'm going like Batman detective mode, visioning around my fucking bathroom, and I'm like, aha. Because listen, I'm not so dumb that I would put a nail through the wall of like the bathroom line, right? That's just gonna make this water problem even worse, right?
Uh-huh.
It's gonna give me the vapors because I'm giving it the vapors. So what I do is I go 1 inch to the left where it's the drywall, and I nail some fucking big ass nails to it, and then I go to the other side and I do the same thing, and then I set the curtain rod on it, right? And I'm like, oh, this shit look bussin'. On God, respectfully. So I go to like put the finishing touches in the nails because I set them there to make sure it would fit and all that. And I go to hit one of them and it fucking goes pew, 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 and I hear it bounce all over the fucking bathroom as I ram this thing with a hammer, and it's just gone. I don't know where it is. And coincidentally, Alex, my bathtub drain has been very, very slow.
Aww.
I think the nail went into the drain.
Oh, well, off to a good start in this new place.
I I bought a bunch of food. I bought like frozen meals and shit. I don't have a microwave. I bought some chicken and pasta. I don't have a can opener for the chicken. And I haven't unpacked my pots of the pasta, so I'm doing really good. I'm doing really great, Alex. So I did get a computer a computer desk, right? And I went to Staples and I got it, and I'm like, awesome, this shit be bussin'. You know, I'm still milking that joke. Right? I have one more in me. And I go to put it out in my car, and it doesn't fit. It's like 6 inches too big. So I call my roommate from the old place, and 45 minutes to an hour later, he shows up. We put it in the back of his truck, which is just full of fucking literal garbage. And we drive it to my house, and we put it up there. We go up these narrow as fuck stairs. I go up there wearing Corona flip-flops. He's going up backwards in, actually, this isn't a bit, in Lightning McQueen light-up Crocs.
Let's go.
Backwards, holding a 300-pound table. I'm helping him carry it up there, and then it starts to slip. And then I have a really, like, I think it's one of those things where it's like you see a lot before the moment of your death, because I had a wooden wall, and then my head just popped up above it, and I had this 300-pound desk that's sliding towards my neck, and I'm like, if I don't grab this really hard right now, I'm gonna lose this dome. So I saw the face of God, and now I got the desk up here, and it took me 3.5 hours to build, because these motherfuckers put in their instructions that I had to take out the desk, like the desk drawers, page like fucking 7 of 9. So I had to undo fucking everything. It's like when
I did the same exact thing where I built the drawers entirely wrong in the last desk I helped Sherry make. It was the worst.
It's like I don't remember which band it was. I think it was Led Zeppelin, where they would put in their contract that they only wanted brown M&Ms because they wanted to make sure that the people actually read the full thing, because there's so many pyrotechnics and shit, and if they didn't put the M&Ms in there, they would, who knows what the fuck else they cheaped out on, right?
Yeah.
So I put the fucking desk together. I put the top part of the desk on upside down. I fix it, and then I set it up in the corner here, and it's in my living room. I'm like, awesome. All right, fine. I finally sit down on my computer chair, and it rolls to the middle of the fucking living room. My living room is dented. I live in a bowl. Someone help me. I cannot live on my own. I'm a fucking mess.
Did you scout this place out? You didn't like drop a ball on the ground to see it roll to the center?
No, man, I wanted out. The previous place I looked at was it was in like a basement, which was kind of cool. Like, it wasn't a basement, but there's a bunch of spiders, like daddy long legs, not real spiders, but it was just in a basement. I'm like, this looks grody. I don't want this. And then I saw this one, and I was like, ooh, monkey brain activated. I committed a felony, by the way, and I opened up mail that I thought was addressed to me, and the previous dude owed like $5,000.
Nice.
Which rent is like $700. So that he went out, he coasted on that Corona for a bit.
God damn, that is a bit, isn't it?
But yeah, Alex, you've always lived. Well, no, you lived at that other place in Idaho. I don't know if you had to do any home repair adventures there or not.
I've had to do some things here. Like, I had to fix the garage for Sherry. I had to build these desks for Sherry. I had to do all these weeds for Sherry. I had to kill all these wasps for Sherry. You know, just things old ladies don't want to do. Oh. Nothing like nearly as comical though. It's usually just grunt work. I don't live in a bowl or had to like get a shitty shower curtain rod that doesn't fucking fit. Mine fits just fine.
There is an old lady that I also had to deal with. She lives in the same building as me. And she insisted that there was a specific parking spot for me. And I'm like, so this she comes up here, and this is when it's me and Joe and my old roommate John, and we're all unpacking our stuff, and we're slowly moving it up these tiny ass fucking. These stairs are so small, I have to walk up on them like I'm a fucking velociraptor, dude. It sucks. Imagine going up backwards on those in Lightning McQueen Crocs that weren't even in 4x4 mode. He didn't have the back on; it was sitting in the front. But this, she was coming up to me. She's like, "Oh, you can't park there." And then my first mistake was not shutting up my friends, because Joe immediately jumped on. He's like, "Oh, well, it doesn't say that in the lease. It doesn't say that anywhere. The landlord never told us that." And he just escalates the situation. So what I did to de-escalate it, and this is actually useful advice. I learned this when I was working at the call center, because I only spoke to people that were on like Medicare and stuff like that. Like stuff you only get when you're old or when you're really fucked up. And here's what you do. So if you're interacting with someone and they're very, very old, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with you, because if I make this worse, you don't work. You've got all the time in the world to just fuck me over, and I don't want to deal with this. So you go, you apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was the space. No one ever told me that. I'll go ahead and no? Okay. Well, when I park next time, I'll go ahead and I'll move it there. And what did you say your name was? She never told me her name. That last name. Kowalchikow. Yeah, do you have a relative who does contract work? Yeah. I think I know. I think I may have seen one of them at my job. And you just come up with some bullshit. The only thing that these old people love more than harassing young people is talking about their young people. And it gets them to shut up and change the conversation. It is my Tad Becker patented method to get the fuck out of any of these conversations. God damn.
Luckily, I don't deal with a lot of old people who are really that picky, but I do deal with old people in the sense that every single old person has something to fucking say. They
working
always,
hard or hardly working.
It's always just shit like that. They have never anything interesting to fucking say. It is the audible version of like a potato chip. It's completely worthless and not nutritional whatsoever.
Holy, give me a best of. Give me a top 3 that you heard like yesterday.
There's this one old lady who used to do it. She would stop me. I'm doing whatever I'm doing at like 10 in the fucking night, right? It's just me. I'm pushing carts, getting bit by mosquitoes. I'm like, hey there, young man. Yeah, I got a joke for you. Hear about the one with blah 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 blah, and then do some whatever bullshit punchline. And I just don't laugh at all. And I just said, "Ma'am, I'm working. Please go away."
Oh, Alex, no. She's telling you a fun joke.
None of her jokes have ever been funny, nor have they ever made me laugh. I used to fake laugh to make her feel better. Then she kept going to me, and then when I stopped laughing, she stopped showing up. So I picked the correct option the second time.
Give me one of her jokes.
I do not remember, unfortunately.
I think I remember one of her jokes. What happened to the Walmart employee who tried to move the cart over the TNT square? He was destroyed.
I legitimately, I'm not trying to be like an asshole, despite the fact that I come off as the biggest asshole right now. I do not remember her jokes. But there was this other, every single day, if I'm ever pushing one of those electric carts back, everyone says something like, "Hey, I'll race you, man," or "Oh, slow down, speedy." Or, "Hey, best part of the job, am I right?"
Hell yeah.
It's my least favorite part, by the way. I hate the electric carts. They always die.
That's awesome. And then you just gotta push these heavy sons of bitches, don't you?
Well, if they're dead, I don't ride them. I had to fucking drag them in there by hand, which isn't like, it's not like gonna kill me. It's just a fucking pain in the fucking ass. I hate crippled people. Just say that out loud in this podcast. If you are
clip that, chat.
If you are old, crippled, and or fat, whatever your reason is for riding those fucking carts for 4 hours and having them die and me cleaning them up, I fucking hate you. Anyway, what I was going to say that I was doing.
You didn't give the last one. I need to hear one more of the daily occurrences, Alex. I need this, please.
The daily occurrences at Walmart.
Yeah.
Pity for the heat. Everyone comes in.
I thought you just meant pity in general, where someone just looks down at you and is like,
No.
I'm sorry that your bloodline was so weak.
No, in fact, actually, it's quite the opposite. A lot of the old people fucking love that I do it because they did old work like that too, because they're boomers. They think I'm one of their pulling up by the bootstraps kids.
Oh, now you said your name was Alex. Now, have you ever done contract work like my son?
Like, the boomers fucking love me. I told you the time that where my fucking mask fell down and a guy drove by with like a trumpet and fucking no stuff. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, no mask, woo! Fucking old boomers love me, dude.
It's because, Alex, we've gone over this. You give off certain affiliation vibes.
Because I'm a low-class worker with a goatee. Anyway. They feel bad for me when it's hot. They're like, "Oh man, it's a scorcher. Make sure you stay cool. Hey, you staying hydrated, buddy? Hey, make sure you stay in the shade, my man. Oh man, I'm so sorry you gotta work out here today. Motherfuckers, I do this every day. Get out of my way." Yeah. Anyway, the point is that motherfuckers come in and they get in my fucking way. I hate when people get in my fucking way. I got shit to do, and it's busy today, especially the past couple of days, too, because, the 4th of July was happening. Get out of the way!
Stop, now, Alex, so you're saying...
What's up?
So you said earlier that these old people characterized you as a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of fellow.
Yes?
I don't know. I was trying to set you up with like a cool way to talk about the characterization stuff that you wanted to mention. But
right. Sorry. I was so focused on old people. I forgot my note card here. Anyway, speaking of characterizations, I wanted to talk about something interesting before we get distracted by Bussin and old people. So 20 minutes into the podcast, we cannot talk about what I had on my note card. So, as you guys know, I recently played through Final Fantasy VII, and I really, really liked it. I have the remake on my PS4, but haven't gotten around to it yet. I was trying to get through all the content that Final Fantasy has put out and shit out, even though I know it, I haven't heard like good things about it, because I want to have the full experience, I want to have this authentic. So, I was interested in the game called Crisis Core. Crisis Core is a prequel story about Zack, the guy from the flashbacks that saved Cloud, and it's all about him. I was really curious
And he's
about
the
game.
fella. He's the fella with the black cloud hair and the Buster Sword originally, right?
Yes, yeah, he's the guy who had the Buster Sword and gave it to Cloud. That was the whole point of the flashback scenes. So, with this game, it was for the PSP, the old one, not the Vita, the old classic PSP with the little weird discs. So, I was told by two different people, like some opinions about this game. I've been told by one person that it's a bad game with a pretty good story. And then another person who says, oh yeah, this game's pretty cool, I really like it. Now, what if I were to tell you, Tad, that both these people are wrong? What if I were to tell you, Tad, that both these people are so incorrect, I now question their mental state?
You know what I would say, Alex? I would say you were straight bussin'. All right, it's done. No more.
Shut up! I'm gonna fucking kill you. So anyway, it's a game that is... It's an action game. It's not an RPG. So have you ever played like God of War?
Yeah.
Have you ever
God
played
of War is the only AAA game that I allow myself to enjoy.
Now, you've played like action games and beat 'em ups, right? Have you played a bad one?
Oh yeah.
Now, have you played a really bad one?
I don't think I've played Crisis Core.
Have you played a button? Okay, so when you hit a button and you attack an enemy, you like swing and you can like hit them in combo, right? Now, have you ever been halfway across the screen, hit the X button, the character slowly turns over to the position of the enemy, walks over, and then swings after half a second?
That feels like some boomer was like looking at one of the Final Fantasies and went, "Well, he's so far away. Why did that sword swing hit? He should walk over there and hit him." Like the fucking Shenmue guy made it.
It's just wrong. Everything you do in that game, the way you handle the menu, the way you swing your sword, the way it feels, the way the slot machine works, everything is just wrong. I showed you a picture of the UI and the gameplay. Now, you're probably curious, like everyone else, what the fuck is the slot machine with Sephiroth's head doing on the fucking top left of the screen at all times? I was told a fun story about that. In the early 2000s, patchy slots, you know, the legally free, like legally safe gambling that like Shake and shit was in the 2000s was really fucking popular in Japan. And so the guys who were running Final Fantasy at the time, like Nomura, were really fucking addicted to it. They fucking loved that shit. So they just said, yeah, just put it in our action game. Fuck it, we love it. And that's why the core design of the game is like, so instead of doing a limit break or a special move, it is now random. As you play and fight enemies, gameplay will fucking halt as it says, you are modulating the phase. Then it'll do like a slot machine where like 3 Sephiroths will pop up. It'll say, battle mode initiated. Everything will stop. It'll show a cutscene of you doing a fucking limit break based on whatever character you got and doing damage to this enemy that was probably already at half health because you killed it anyway with basic attacking it. And then waste your time. Imagine if at random intervals, all your gameplay was halted for 2 minutes straight.
God, that makes me think of in Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door. The last time I tried doing the Pit of 100 Trials, do you remember? There would be if you, I don't remember what the fuck made it happen, but there'd be the slot machine where you'd have like mushroom, and then it would like roll down and you would activate it, right?
Yeah. I
had that happen, and it gave me the poison mushroom at floor like 75, and I'm just like, oh, I guess my entire run is fucked because I couldn't not. I accidentally won this slot machine. Cool. So no, I don't. I hate those mechanics. I fucking hate dodging. I hate crits. Don't like it.
So luckily, it's nothing bad is in the slot machine. It's only limit breaks. However, it's like all your gameplay is halted to do this cutscene, and summons are the same way. So it'll like say 3 Cisne, who's some bullshit character nobody cares about. Then whoops, uh-oh, Ifrit wants to be summoned instead, and then it'll do the slot machine again, roll through the summons, randomly do a summon, and do a cutscene that you can actually skip that one for some reason, and then fucking do that damage instead. It is fucking awful. I cannot fucking stand that system. By the way, there's no like protection. It can just happen back to back. I once had a time where I limit breaked 3 times in a fucking row in like the span of 10 seconds. Also, Now, Tad, you know how in Paper Mario, or like any RPG, really, I'm just gonna say Paper Mario because you play Paper Mario. You kill an enemy, and you get little EXP points, right, to level up. Now, imagine if leveling up was random in the slot machine.
What? Okay, so you would get like enough, and then you would do like a poll on if your character would get stat upgrades.
No, Tad, you're thinking with power. You have to think with stupidity. There are numbers on the slot machine along with the faces. If you get 3 7s, you level up. That is the only way to level up.
What the fuck? God, I was really joking about there just being some boomer who saw this video game and was like, "Oh, I love the, I like to play pachinko with my retirement money."
It's legitimately I can't say it's the worst game I've ever played, obviously, because I played Garshas the Monster Slayer, but like this game is just wrong. It's incorrect. Every decision that a creative director could have made that was not the right one to make in an action game, they decided to make. It is fucking abysmal. Like, that game is so awful to play, so awful to control. I thought I played that game for like 50 fucking hours. It was only 14. I was like, oh, it's a horrible slog. And then
what about the story and the visuals?
The visuals? Okay, visuals for a PSP classic game, legit, probably the best looking PSP game I've ever seen. I'll give it credit, looks really fucking good. Now, I was on an emulator, and the PSP emulator is, ironically enough, one of the best emulators ever made. It has so many features and so much like little nice things to it, and so many like filters. Like, I don't know why the PSP of all systems, because I only had like a couple of games. Those Monster Hunter fans must be really, really into Monster Hunter. But, it looks good, even with all the little like touch-ups with the anti-aliasing and shit. But like the story, yikes! I think individual who told me the story was decent, you're wrong. So anyway, let me tell you why this fact of his is objectively, this opinion of his is objectively wrong, and mine is objectively true. You remember the 2000s, Tad?
Vaguely.
Do you remember Kingdom Hearts?
I do, yeah.
Now, what did you think of Kingdom Hearts?
I remember playing it at my cousin's house, and I only played the Winnie the Pooh level and the Little Mermaid level, and then I played gameplay like combat, and I'm like, this kind of sucks.
That is the exact kind of vibes I got from this. Let me talk about one cutscene in particular that made me actually scoff and immediately start thinking of Kingdom Hearts. Whereas Zach has a mentor named Angeal. He's a super soldier like them. I'm not going to do the whole fucking story. It literally doesn't matter. But yeah. He's a super soldier like the others, and he gets a one wing like Sephiroth does. Which, by the way, Sephiroth never does that in Final Fantasy VII. They made that up in Kingdom Hearts, and then that became his thing.
Wait, the one-winged angel song?
No. The song is his boss fight thing when he's like the big monster, and his arm turns into a wing, but on his back, that black one wing that he has, completely made up in Kingdom Hearts. Never has that in the actual game.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, then they retroactively put it onto the game in the remakes now. That just became his thing in a completely different product. Anyway,
it does look kind of cool.
Angeal gets the same kind of juice in him, the same super soldier shit, and he gets a one wing that's a white wing. He's like, look at me, Zach. I've become a monster. No, Angeal. And like, guys, what are the feathers? Those are angel's wings. And he's like, then what, Zach, does an angel dream of? To be human. And they like blast Zach with like an energy wave. I'm like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever fucking seen in a cutscene. This is actually somehow the least interesting, like the worst fucking shit I've ever seen. And I saw Goofy die in Kingdom Hearts a year ago. This is awful. This is abysmal. This is so cringe-inducing. People like this because he told me that it's worth it to get to the end. That the end is so emotional. It's so good. And it's all this bullshit. And so he says he hypes that shit up, and then I hit that part, like the halfway moment. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be emotional at all. If this is the kind of quality that I'm seeing right now, there is no way. They could never re-release that game either because they use the likeness of a real person named Gact, who is that's his stage name. He is a Japanese rock star who wears a big red coat, and I thought he was from Kamen Rider Decade for a minute when I looked at him. They just straight up put him in the game, and he's the main bad guy named Genesis. And because it's literally just the guy, like his face, his outfit, his like style, everything, they cannot re-release it because they had to like give him like royalties again. So it's just stuck on the PSP in 2006.
Damn.
The ending is okay. I'm not going to say it was the worst thing ever, but it was definitely not what it was hyped up to be. Because honestly, I have the same problem with the Final Fantasy remake from what I've seen of it. It's like a lot of things that remakes do, where it's like you couldn't just. It's like the Star Wars remakes. Like, remember how simple this all was, but you had to make it bigger. You had to be super grandiose. You had to be like over the top and visually like impressive. When like simplicity was way better in this specific moment.
Well, you're remaking it, so I mean, if you're just going to be up, I think the Spyro remakes are the closest ones, and the Crash Bandicoot ones are the closest ones where it's just updating the visuals, and those ones did fine enough, but I can see their reasoning where it's like, well, especially because this is just one game, you know? You can get away with remastering a game that's literally like you're just making fancier models because you got Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, 3, Spyro 1, 2, 3. Or if you're Nintendo, you don't upgrade anything and you just release 4 Mario games for a limited time. Mario has been killed. Mario was found dead in Miami, April 1st, 2021.
So. You say that. So in the original game, when Zack dies, he gets found by a bunch of Shinra goons and gunned down, right?
So in the streets of Miami by a rival cartel, yes.
Yeah. So he dies outside Midgar. Cloud crawls over, like holds a Buster Stone up, cries to the heavens, and then he enters. He like stumbles into Midgar, right? That leads into like the game. So what I've heard to tell you that now they redid that entirely. Now instead of being jumped by a handful of goons, he now looks behind him and like there's a massive army of like 300 guys, like a tank and like 3 attack helicopters that he has to solo fight, all 100 of them, in like this cool epic fight scene with sad music playing. Now, what I was saying, Tad, is that sometimes bigger isn't always better, because I was not more emotionally invested in the fact that he's gonna, in this cinematic moment that you can't die in, by the way, so it has no impact whatsoever. I tried to die on purpose to speed it up because I was so sick of the fucking game at that point. By the way, emotional moment. God, let this fucking end already. Going through this whole bullshit where it's being so grandiose, so in my face about it, and trying to present this really cool, deep thing that I just preferred the simpler fucking way, where he just was killed. It didn't even be this big fucking moment, this big like last stand. So he dies. He gets gunned down. He slowly like bleeding out or whatever. Cloud crawls over to him and shit. Does the whole thing, but with like movie CG that is then reused.
You got rockets in the background,
which is then actually which was actually straight up reused footage from the movie Advent Children. Fun fact.
The movie is that just like what happens in the first half of Final Fantasy VII or something?
No, that's the remake. Advent Children's sequel. I'll get to it in a second too. Don't worry, I got some opinions on that, and you're gonna love them. After Zack dies, now Tad, what do you think happened when Zack died in the original game?
He went ooh, and he faded away, and he dropped some sick loot.
Hilarious. No, he died. Now in the prequel, after the end, like an angel like light beams down at Zack as he reaches up to the heavens, and he quotes that scene from earlier. He's like, I want those angel wings too. A hand like grabs his hand, pulls him up to the heavens, and then Zack's body disappears with like a feather falling down on the ground. Once again, you didn't need any more grandiose. You also could have just died, guys. That would have had more impact. I fucking hate the way Nomura does his shit, because Nomura was buying this game too.
Because Zack's the main character of this one.
Yes, he is.
So, I can understand why he might have thought, like, well, Zack's death in the original game was just Cloud was the main character. It was to further Cloud's bullshit.
Yes.
So I can understand why he might be like, it would feel kind of anticlimactic just to have your dude die. You get jumped by 4 goons.
As opposed to me kicking the fuck out of a boss and then losing to him in a cutscene?
Yeah, I guess.
Hey, it's a Final Fantasy game, dude. Like, it does that shit in that story anyway, so that excuse doesn't even matter. But, like, it comes... This whole thing... Like, it's doing this whole thing where it tries super hard to get to this one moment, like the Star Wars prequel trying to justify, like, all this shit to make Vader. It does, like, all this shit to make Zack, when, like, in reality, you didn't need half of it. You could have just done, like, a small story of, like, Zack and Nibelheim just showing more of his perspective. It didn't need to be this weird over-the-top bit with clones of Genesis and this really over-the-top cutscene that was probably everyone's Twitter bio of Sephiroth fighting Genesis and like destroying the big cannon. And God, I hated it. The 2000s were bad. The 2000s were a mistake. Now, speaking of 2000s, I put a gun to my friend's head. Rare footage of me wanting to do something first. So my friend mentioned that he jokingly wanted to watch Advent Children. He's the guy who played Final Fantasy before me and got me to try it out, right? But he knew it was bad and he didn't really like have the balls to do it. I said, when I finish this game, I'm going to stream this movie. Be there or be square. So he was there. And so I streamed the fucking movie off of YouTube. Huh? Yeah, he wasn't square at all. Or was he? Let me explain. Advent Children, I got the remastered, like, complete edition fucking ass director's cut, which is 2 entire hours. It adds 30 extra minutes of footage, and I don't know what it adds. I didn't actually look at the differences. But fun fact, it's not actually English dubbed. At least not the YouTube rental that I got. So it was just in Japanese with subs on the director's cut. Now, what do you think the movie is about? Just guess. It's Final Fantasy, all the characters back together. What do you think they're doing?
And it's a sequel.
Yes, direct sequel. 2 years later.
Chocobo breeding.
No. What if I were to tell you that the entire the party, the cast, the guys that you love, don't show until 72 minutes into the movie?
How long of a movie is it?
It's 2 hours.
Okay, I mean, that's still the second half. I was thinking you were going to say 90 minutes.
Well, it was originally like 90 minutes. They added more footage. Remember, it's the director's cut. Now, what if I were to tell you that those characters, and what if I were to tell you that half of those characters have one line of dialogue?
So, okay, I would have assumed that, because everyone in there is like an orphan or whatever, I would have assumed that the main characters were the Advent Children.
No. So,
who are the main characters in this?
It is still Cloud, but it's also Reno and Rude, which is such a weird choice. Those guys, they are minor characters, like, you know Team Rocket in Pokemon? And I mean like the cartoon, like Jesse and James and Meowth. The Turks are basically the Team Rocket of Final Fantasy VII. There's like a song like Elena, Reno, and Rude. They're these goons in suits that are trying to kick your ass and take you back to Shinra, right? And they just show up from time to time just for you to beat the shit out of them, right? They're having their own little like side adventure throughout the whole course of the game. And you run into them a handful of times. Reno and Rude are just like in the story legitimately more than everyone else in the fucking thing other than Cloud. I was very surprised by this, and also the characters are completely rewritten. They're like comedic goofballs now. Rufus, who was like the big bad, is now a good guy, because there are these 3 Sephiroth clone like fanboys out to get Genova's head to rebirth Sephiroth and destroy the world. You know, simple shit. And to do this, they very slowly get a bunch of kids that are all infected with the Ligma. And it's called Stigma, by the way, and everyone would just keep making Ligma jokes the entire movie. So they get there's just this little goop on them. They get them all together, all these kids together, make them drink sissy hypno water, turn them into little Sephiroth clones, little Sephiroth babies, to then take over the distracted town to go get Genova's head and cause this whole thing. And that takes 80 minutes to get to that point. And I summed it up in 5 because they have this horrible thing that they do that the whole movie is like. There'll be a scene that's like going to be an action scene, right? Like, oh yeah, I hope you're ready for a knuckle sandwich. Like, oh yeah, let's fight. They go over, they punch each other before the fists connect. Cuts to like these 2 kids just playing in a park for 34 minutes. Then cuts back to the fight scene being already over, and that's like the entire movie.
They kaiju blue ball you. That's why I've given up on kaiju movies. Too many times have I seen Godzilla run to punch something, and then it's just gone. And I come back and maybe I see Godzilla in water at night in the rain.
And like another thing they do is like there's no color palette. In this bright fantasy fucking Japanese RPG, everyone's wearing gray and like black and shit because it's 2005 when this movie came out and that was the cool thing. Except for like Vincent, who has the big red cape, so he stands out really hard in the movie. And also he still has this really, really big like 4 polygon shoes. For like the one scene you see them, they look awful. But it takes 70 minutes for the other characters to show up, and it is actually a decent scene. Everyone goes to fight a big monster. The Sephiroth clones resummoned to destroy the city. And it's like, I feel like the only people who like this movie, because spoilers, it did really well when it came out. I think the only people who like this movie only remember this part, which is like the only thing people wanted was like the characters they knew and loved to go on another fun adventure and team back up, but they barely ever talk to each other, interact whatsoever. They all just like say one or two lines to Cloud himself, and then like fuck off to the back row as Cloud then fights a reborn Sephiroth who shanks the fuck out of him, but Cloud's built different and then shoots him in the fucking head and kills Sephiroth again and then saves the planet. It is like the most lame, uninteresting, boring movie, so much so that my friend who wanted to see it fell asleep during it. Advent Children is fucking like, it's just so boring. It is a boring ass movie that takes like 70 minutes to get anywhere, and by that point, even then, not a lot happens. It's just really fast action scenes of like Cloud driving a motorcycle, Reno and Rude doing goofy shit. Then everyone does like one attack on a big monster, gives Cloud a thumbs up. Then Cloud takes up a 34-minute fight scene with Sephiroth. Then the movie's over. It's nothing. It is such a nothing movie.
I feel like the whole selling point was they probably just wanted to do like this sounds like it was just a cash grab. Like, we're going to have Cloud fighting Sephiroth, and it's going to be in a movie. It's going to be freaking epic. And then everything else is just kind of like thrown in there to fill up space.
Yeah. And what sucks, though, is that, and this is what I wanted to start this whole video about, is with this was done by Nomura. Nomura is the Kingdom Hearts guy. And as we just mentioned earlier, he had a lot of weird creative decisions that then kind of trickled down into Final Fantasy. And this movie is part of that, where he changes the characterization of everyone in the movie. Cloud, like the entire point of Cloud's story in 7 was that he was kind of like becoming his own person rather than looking up and idolizing Sephiroth or mimicking and looking up to like Zack and shit. He became himself and overcame himself and his own doubts, right? So now he's just back to being like a weird like loser and like constantly doubting himself, even though he just went through this whole character arc through this like 50-hour long JRPG.
Why did they even make it a fucking sequel?
Then like Tifa is basically not a character. Barrett just exists. He doesn't have anything fun to do or say. Red doesn't matter. Sid like is like a goofball. Like the characterizations that he makes in Kingdom Hearts and in this movie, mostly this comes from Cloud because Cloud's the one who's in it the most, and Reno and Rue being goofballs, trickled down. And that's what a lot of fans think of those characters. Like, what you've seen in fan content for this game, for Final Fantasy VII and shit, nothing like the characters actually fucking act. Like, people think Tifa is like this huge badass. Tifa's a fucking simp. Tifa is a huge, like, she does kick butt, but she's a fucking loser. Aerith says bruh. Like, Sid is just a massive asshole and sounds like a grumpy old man, like me. Like, Yuffie's just like a cunt. Red's like a good person. Like, everyone's completely fucking different. Like, no one acts the way you think they do. And this kind of effect can negatively impact characters. And this is something that I thought of while I was designing my own characters and shit. Because I've, as people know, I've been doing art in our Discord and, learning it for the past couple of years. And we had the whole episode about it. And what I think is very interesting is when you're designing these things is, like, there are a lot of little things you have to keep in consideration when you're handling characters and shit. Because anything that they do is a reflection of them, and say if they were to change and morph into these weird, like, goofballs, then, you know what's a good example? Team Fortress 2, and the way they handle their hats. Look at the Pyro. The Pyro was just, funny fire guy, right?
Fireman's hat and stuff.
Yeah, one guy made the sombrero, because the sombrero is, Mexico, desert, it's hot. That fits for a fire guy, right? Well, wait, hold on. Checkpoint. Sombrero, Mexican-themed things, so I can add more Mexican-themed things to the Pyro. Okay, sure, here's like a Day of the Dead skull mask, and okay, we'll add this now to the Pyro, and this to the Pyro. All of a sudden, from just this one slightly fire-themed aesthetic, now it just became like the Pyro just has like a bunch, I said Spyro, the Pyro just has all these like Mexican-themed like things, like it has a whole like poncho and shit now that you can wear on him, right? That it snowballed into that. And Final Fantasy did the same thing, and these are the things you have to keep in consideration. I showed you a thing about characterization with the ads from Ed and Eddie, how they were all jumping over the fence. That's actually legitimately a very good test of how characters act. And this is for the young people out there who are very interested, because I know we have a bunch of artists and shit that listen to us, and create their own things. That, and this is serious. I'm being like actually like engaged and interested.
And the Ed and Eddie one, for those who haven't seen this tweet, was they were running in a direction. They came up to a door. Eddie, as like the plotter, like the cheater, the shifter, he jumps over it because he thinks that's the best way to do it, even if it would require way more work. Double D opens the door, walks through, and then goes back to close it because that is the proper, considerate thing to do. Ed, the big one, he gets there, he sits, he waits for a moment, doesn't see an easy way to do it, so he just swoops right through the middle of the door. He just goes through it. He just puts all of his energy into this whatever solution he sees. And that fits each one of the Eds and how they act very, very cleanly in a fucking 7-second clip.
Exactly, yeah. And you can write a whole thesis on just that alone. And this is the things that you need to keep in consideration. So for those young people out there, when you're writing your characters, what makes them actually tick? How do they handle these situations? How do they handle these problems? How will they do these things? And one thing you have to keep in mind is, what do we not need to know about characters? Because while I was on this train of thought, I talked to Tad about this a bunch of times. He knows exactly where I'm going with this. There's a lot of lore out there for characters that people love to just go on about for their OCs. All of this shit. I've done it myself too. I have this whole fucking story. I've been there. I literally have done it like a week ago. I get it. But what do we not need to understand? Perfect example is, let's go to League of Legends. Now, Tad, you know the character Riven from League of Legends, right?
Yeah, I know her. She's got like a giant sword and she jumps around.
Now, one fan had a very interesting question for a writer. They asked, hey, is Riven fertile? Now, let's unpack that really quickly. That is a complete worthless question. As a creator, you should never answer that. That is just gross. Nobody needs to know or care. Now, of course, Tad, the Riot employee answered the question. Because why wouldn't they? And they responded with, much like her sword, her eggs are broken. Literally the worst way you could have worded that. So, I have to, again, for the people out there who making their characters, making their stories, do any of us need to know that? Do any of us need that information? Literally requires nothing other than to validate this person's vision of this character that he's probably going to write a fan fiction about, right? That's probably why he asked that weird fucking question in the first place. And this is something that I've run into a lot with, what were we going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, you gave me a couple other really fucking good examples.
Oh, sure. Let's go right into those examples. So, another very fun example here was the Apex Legends one. Now, I have brought this up before in the past, but for those who are new and listening, is that a while ago I had a conversation with my friend Aaron about Gibraltar being gay, and I thought it was kind of worthless that they just did the Dumbledore, that I call it, where it's just like, oh, we mentioned it like once in a sentence, and like that's it. A very lazy way, right? So he said back to me, he's like, Alice, it's actually still important they do that because, that means that in this universe, they still have that conversation. And I thought, you know what, Aaron? That's a good point. 1 week later, they brought up a post where it's like, by the way, guys, Pathfinder is in fact capable of sexual intercourse. So I brought that right back to Aaron. I'm like, okay, Aaron, what's the purpose of this one? And he's like, all right, you got me. That's kind of worthless. So let's ask the question to, the people out there who are creative types. Why do I need to know that the robot can fuck? What actual purpose in the story, the gameplay, because it's a video game, the world building, what purpose does this actually have to anyone other than to serve the masturbatory fantasies of the fans who want to fuck robots? It's literally worthless, because those motherfuckers are going to draw porn of Pathfinder anyway. And this is back in the day when Pathfinder's old skin, the Twitch skin, gave him these really, really, really fat thighs that everybody was cooming over about in like an obsessive fucking way. That's why they made the post, by the way.
Isn't it just like a robot with like a screen for a head?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of pipes?
Yeah, that's all he is, but that doesn't stop people from giving him like fucking like fleshy thighs and an ass anyway. But like the thing is that rather than just let the fans do their fucking thing, you have to get your stupid ass involved in it. Like, why? Like, what purpose does this have? Does this increase my enjoyment of the media? It sure as shit doesn't. But it only
it gets people to talk about it's a marketing thing. That's the only reason I can think of. Only justification is just, oh well, we want people to keep talking about our game, so we're gonna say something that's kind of off the wall and crazy. And it's like, whoa, whoa, that's kind of wild.
Yeah,
that robot can fuck.
But you say that, but then the League of Legends one doesn't make any sense because that was just like a private message. The guy just linked it.
That's just like
crazy.
A dude being fucking weird. I don't know why he answered that.
Like, and this happens a lot. You've definitely seen this before yourself because you've read Homestuck. You know this exactly. And I want to talk about like authors kind of giving into like fan desires. I've actually had an interaction when I designed a character for Shen, his comic Scaly Schooly, where when we were designing the character, a random person watching the art stream, because this was back not on Twitch, but the other art stream like channel, whatever it was fucking called. I don't even remember the fucking name of it.
Picardo, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was it. That was it. And this person asked me, is like, hey, is this character gay? I never fucking thought about it because I just designed the fucking character for his fucking comic. But I was very intrigued because I'm like, I didn't really think about it, so probably just not. And then they went off on this thing, and for like a few paragraphs, of just like why I should make this character that I was designing myself with this guy gay for them because it would make them happy as opposed to making me happy, the creator, right? It was such a weird, awkward situation, and I feel like that's the position that a lot of these people like get into. But on a grander scale, when you're holding like a fucking big IP like League of Legends, right? Where you feel like you have to give an answer, and you feel like you have to kind of give them what they want because, like, say if this one guy's doing it, well, then statistically speaking, you have millions of players. There's probably a couple hundred more, even a couple thousand, who also want to know this incredibly weird and personal fact about this character that doesn't matter, right?
There was that hard drive, the Onion for video games, that had an article about this, where it said, completely unprompted, Miyamoto explains that Waluigi is in fact circumcised.
Yeah, because that actually does happen, like, surprisingly more than you'd think. And I'm sure you have examples from Homestuck, but I have some more examples from, like, Steven Universe. Because, I was into that. The Crewniverse, as they call themselves.
The examples I have from Homestuck, a lot of them are just straight up retconning things and content that came out after the comic. Mostly in like heavily implying that multiple characters are trans now, only because people wanted it to happen on like Homestuck Twitter, and so they add these new aspects. But this is a little bit different in that it's entirely retconning shit, as you know, to change the interpretation of things just to fit these other people's ideas of what it should be. But Homestuck's a whole fucking weird mess. There's so much weird fan crossover into what is canon, and it's a whole fucking, it's a goddamn nightmare to untangle.
Now, what I was gonna say with the Steven Universe example though is they did mostly the correct thing, which I'll give them credit for, but they would get a lot of attention and questions just about stupid fucking porn shit, right?
Oh.
Because that's
the only one I knew of was if the purple one had a digestive system. That someone was asking about to see if she could poop or something.
That is one. Congratulations, you remembered that one. I can cross that off of my list. But there was another one that I thought was really interesting. Was Stevani, when Steven and Connie fuse. Everyone had to ask, do they get a penis or a vagina? Or both?
What the fuck?
Now, the obvious answer was they didn't think about it. They just made a fucking thing. They just made a cartoon thing. But once again, it's people who want to have their masturbatory fantasies canonized so they can feel more justified in their actions. The correct response to this, no matter how many times you get asked this question, is to just ignore it. It's literally not worth answering, because otherwise you're going to come off as a fucking weirdo like the eggs are broken guy in League of Legends. Now, that's the proper way you handle that kind of situations if you people out there ever find yourselves into them. Now, another one I thought was very interesting was... Okay. This one is the most interesting, but also the worst one. Anyone who asks this question is on a list. and this comes up... I've seen it come up not like a million times, but a handful. Definitely more than like one or two. That's why I want to bring it up. And it's almost always something... a little anime related. That is, in this fantasy world, What is the law of the age of consent in this world?
Uh-oh.
Anyone who asks that question, literally, okay, this one's more of an obvious one, but you're not going to answer that fucking question.
There is no good outcome from answering that question or asking it.
Like, even if you just say, "Oh, it's just like our worlds," it's still gonna get some people fucking talking, right? In the worst way. It is
If
literally
you bring up the
it's bait. Don't take it.
This was something that me and Dan talked a lot about in the DM workshop episodes, and a good example of it is there's certain things that if you even touch on them at all, things just get more complicated. Like in the My Hero Academia thing. Some of the people's powers will get touched on at different, like there's a guy, I think he can make explosives using like his palm sweat or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, how'd you do that? And he's like, oh, and then he gives an explanation. And then there's another character that has something and they give a more in-depth one. And it's like, well, how does that work then? Like, these things are contradicting each other. I don't understand. You're adding all this unnecessary info you really don't need. And you're going to make things to keep things sensible for whatever story or character that you're making. When you add stuff without even thinking about it, like, oh, you just sweat, age of consent. If you just throw that shit out there, it's going to end up biting you in the ass. Because best case scenario, later on along the line, you just go, you know what, just forget about that. Just don't worry about it. But there's always going to be people that worry about it.
People will always ask you, again, I'm just dancing on the subject, it's always weird sex shit. Well, 9 out of 10 times it's always weird sex shit for these people because they want their, like I said, their masturbatory fantasies to be canonized so they can feel better about it. Homestuck was all about that. Homestuck was all about people just like, it's not enough that you can just do whatever weird fantasy porn that you want of your fucking of these characters.
I have to make it fit this 13-year-old alien.
It has to be the age consent one really fits into Homestuck, don't it? It has to be right? It's not that you can draw like big tittied I don't know Homestuck characters, big titty Mr. Homestuck number 1. It has to be canon that Mr. Homestuck number 1 now has big tits in like chapter 37,000.
Oh, I got a really good example. In the epilogues for Homestuck, they had the epilogues that were only written. They gave one of the characters a dog penis that had no backing at all in the comic itself. They just gave her one because it was that person's weird fucking fetish. They just added that in there. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, this character just has a dick now. There was a lot of... Some people have been asking me if I'm ever going to like, oh, you ever going to cover this Homestuck thing? You ever going to cover this? And it's like, no. I'm not giving Homestuck It lived rent-free in my head for 10 years, and I'm not giving it anything else. It's not getting anything else. As crazy as it is that Jade would impregnate her friend Rose with a dog baby with her ghost dog dick, and that's just like a thing in the world. I'm just not. I don't want any part of this shit. I'm not interested.
I honestly, you know what, Tad? I'm thinking about it. I thought about the age of consent one, but I honestly cannot think of a single thing worse than the canonized like Fuda in a fucking piece of media. Who benefits from this?
Only the fucking crazy people that are running Homestuck right now. Which, fuck. Do you have anything more to say about characterization? Because I can give Homestuck. It's
yes, I have a closing thing. There's a method to this madness in this conversation, so I'll leave off on that, and you can go off, King. Is that the reason I'm talking about all of this is because Ted and I were actually, well, let me say this. I was minding my own business, and Ted decided to dig up a lot of my old work when I was a kid on the internet on a website called drunked.com. And
yes, Aleks and I made comics. Aleks would draw them, and then I would fix his horrible spelling mistakes and come up with really funny jokes.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then at some point, Aleks got embarrassed by the fact that he tried to be creative when he was a child and deleted them all. And so using my wizardry, I was able to restore the content of someone's account that was not mine and that mine was not connected to, so that I could go through and archive them all.
which he did when I specifically told him not to. And he's like, oh, but come on, it'll be really cool. I said, no, Ted, I prefer not to look at that stuff. Okay, I'm going to do it anyway. By the way, nice moderation team, fucking Drunk Duck. I keep want to say Discord. Drunk Duck. Motherfucker didn't even email me or ask me. Motherfucker just goddamn put the account back up that I got rid of myself.
Yep, he sent an email. I think the person who owned this account wanted it deleted, but I'll go ahead and bring it back up. Like, damn, bro, he's on my side.
I'm going to kick his ass.
On this.
Anyway. So, Ted was going through this old shit, and now I was doing a little stick figure comic, essentially, every fucking day. And so, a bunch of them are shitty. However, as Ted would try to convince me, but I'll never believe, 1 or 2 is still kind of funny.
More than that. It's like 1 and 2 in 20.
Like,
which out of 800 comics, that's like 80 good comics.
Like, because I was writing them every day when I was bored at school. Because I was a kid doing this whole thing. This was 2009, guys. This was a long time ago.
We were freshmen in high school, so we would have been 14, 15.
Yeah, dude, we were young. So, fucking, while creating all these things, just doodling little like stick figures and blocks and shit in school, I was doing one every day, so obviously there's only 1 or 2 who's going to ever really stand out when you're just pumping them out that fucking hard. I was doing essentially what that one guy who does like Thanos parodies does, or like Amogus parodies does like now. I was just shitting things out for quick content because I was bored. But the whole point of all of this is that the way that you will enjoy your characters, your work, and your everything as your creative process is to not try too hard to pump out content, to trend chase, and to do all those things. Is that you need to do the thing that actually makes you fucking happy. Because if you were to just trend chase, or in my case, just pump shit out, you're just going to pump out a bunch of meaningless, mediocre content.
Schlock.
Yeah, it's just going to be worthless. So you got to spend your time to create something that you legitimately enjoy. Like what I'm currently doing with my art is like I draw like TV Man and all these little bad guys I made up as video game bosses as a kid, but like drawing them better than the stick figures they once were. Like TV Man's a fucking stupid little superhero with a cape and a TV for a head. You look at him with his big eyebrows and you know, oh yeah, a little kid made that, right? You keep the, in my case, the childlike wonder is I specifically try to, if I ever design a new character for specifically TV Man, I actually try to keep the design process under 5 minutes because that's as little time as I spent as a kid. That's my like fucking what is it? Restrictions breed creativity. That's my like trick to make everything still look
5 minutes
fun.
to come up with simple, easy to read things. You know, what is a simple shape that I would have drawn as a kid? Here's a spike. Here's like I drew a swastika. You know, stuff like that.
But the thing is that for you young artists out there and you young creative types out there, if you are on let's say Twitter, because people use Twitter a lot for art, you're on there trying to get popular and get attention, you're doing it incorrectly. Because there is a bunch out there, and there's a bunch of motherfuckers who just make like in case of clout chasing, will just make like slutty like demon girls and shit. They're all like really look-alike boring bullshit. You probably know what I'm talking about, right, Tad?
Yeah, people that will they'll just say like, like the fucking last year or 5 years ago, whenever the fuck it happened. I really don't know. The fucking mushroom thing. Yeah, Bowsette. And then people kept making all these little monster girl things, and it's like, well, you would have people that didn't ever make that kind of content, but they're like, oh, I'm just gonna slap out. This is a Goomba, but she got booba.
Exactly. I know one artist I follow who never draws that kind of content was also very clearly doing it just to get some attention as well. I felt so bad for them that they were doing that. Fucking create the things that make you actually happy and that you actually enjoy, no matter what, because that way you'll enjoy the actual creative process. If you are specifically going to an artist website, especially a really popular one like Twitter, is that nobody makes a good product with the sole intent of trying to be famous. When people try to make good cartoons, like the one of the greatest cartoons ever made, SpongeBob, made by a fucking marine biologist, not by a guy who specifically wanted to make, to be famous and make a lot of money. He just wanted to make a cartoon that he wanted to make. You dig? They didn't make Ed and Eddie with a specific thing of with going out and making that fucking thing to just only make money. They wanted to make a fun cartoon and make money from that. If you are going into this with the sole intention of trying to get clout and be popular, you're doing it incorrectly. You are just going to end up with a generic fucking mess. You're going to end up with the Disney Marvel movies of art and just be there.
Now, on the other hand, the guy who shat out He-Man is a millionaire.
Slam, you got me. You're so smart. You know what I'm fucking talking about, Tad.
Debate me. Butch Hartman shat out 17 comics and cartoons, and look at him. He's on Twitter. People don't like him.
Well, he had a team, and he had a lot of people. He took credit for a lot of other people's work. That's different. Butch Hartman's a little bit of a different story. He didn't do a majority of that work himself whatsoever. What were you going to say about Homestuck? Living rent-free in your fucking head with Sarah Z.
I didn't watch the Sarah Z video. They did a video where they went through all the shit that happened with the Hive Swap Kickstarter and like the history of Homestuck. And What Pumpkin got so butthurt about it, they sent a lawyer to harass her and tell her to take down the video. Andrew Hussie is having a midlife crisis, and you can see it happening right now. Andrew Hussie, the whole time that he was doing his shit, everyone just kind of assumed that he was always like ironically like snarky and like, I'm just a little bit better than you, and never actually meaning it. No, he is a whiny little fucking bitch boy baby, and he always is. He's a 41-year-old man who dresses in clown makeup ironically and only associates with 20-year-olds that are on some kind of spectrum, gender or autism. He's a fucking child. She goes over the emails, and there's like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of Hussie bitching about shit, and it's only way deep into it that he actually reveals that he never watched the original video.
Heh.
He's gonna get outed for trying to touch someone soon enough. He's a fucking freak. In the fucking emails, they bring up the fact like, hey, so what happened with What Pumpkin? And he's like, oh, well, there was this one person that poisoned the entire team against me. It's all their fault. Like, that's fucking pathetic, dude. He's awful. I have no intentions of ever covering Homestuck shit again because it's just done. Yeah. It's not worth my fucking attention anymore.
I was curious to say, because I remember you a long time ago mentioned that Hussie like stopped with Homestuck, but now he's apparently back. What's up with that?
So he got very, very fucking butthurt. Like I said about Psycholonials, no one cared. That was a project he made where it was some girl that was a internet influencer, and the comic was about how hard it wasn't a comic. It was like a game on Steam. It was about how hard it is to be rich and famous and have people pay attention to all the stuff that you do, and how difficult that is as a creator. And no one cared. It looked bad. No one bought it. So now he's having people criticizing Homestuck, and in Sarah's video, there's some very, very thick Hulk hands child gloves on. Homestuck's bad. It was a lot of interesting ideas. If I ever reread it, which I probably won't, I'll probably remember why I liked it, because there's a lot of cool shit that happens in it. But if you just Google Andrew Hussie now, you'll see a 41-year-old man who's going through a midlife crisis and is going to end up dead sometime within the next 15 years.
Yeesh.
He's been on fucking uppers for like 20 years. That dude's heart has got to be made out of Swiss cheese. And that's the last time you'll probably hear me talk about Homestuck, unless there's something real fucking wacky that happens.
All right, well, let's do that. Let's do that big old fat outro.
You can find the show here on YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify. There's a Discord in the description, a Patreon in the description. You can find more stuff about the show. I'm falling apart, Alex. I don't remember what I was going to say.
You can find the podcast here on iTunes, Google Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify.
And then Discord in the description, Patreon in the description. That'll do it for this Noyz Boyz. We'll catch you guys on the next one where we have something even more oddly specific to complain about. All right, see ya.